Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image and we're going to use a black and white adjustment layer just to show you the difference of what it can do. So we're going to use black and white on top of this. And here's what I think is really interesting is using black and white in a blending mode, you can create really kind of some nice bizarre effects. So here's darken, for example. Here's what's really cool. So it took these images and they're kind of black and white, but yet we get this really moody sky that's happening over top. And to me, that's a really nice effect that's happening to that photo. So I'm just scrolling through the blending mode so you can kind of see what happens. Darken is really cool, and that's really kind of a secret that I use with that. That's luminosity, nothing's really happened. Here's normal. But so here's what's great about the black and white tool. Is you can see these little sliders that are here, and I can say, you know what, I like this, but I want to darken this tone. And so you can see it's darkening and lightening the blue tone. So you know what, inside of the sky, I want that to be a little bit lighter or darker. And it's adjusting that, and you don't really have to adjust any of this stuff, which is really super nice. There's also a tint feature here. Okay, it's working the same kind of way hue and saturation is with that, but now I can select a specific color, which is really, really nice. So it tints it that really specific color. Let's go ahead and go with a red. And then you could blend that, and you could create some really kind of wild effects, with that. So let's say I did something like this, and I didn't want the way that the buildings were, and I just wanted the sky. Well, because there's a mask on here, I could do an inverse mask, right? And then I could go select the sky here, and I could just bring those in. Right? Really cool, right? I could then also, let's do my opacity of my brush down to 20%. I could bring in some of that red, kind of just a little bit, kind of hitting those buildings. Right? So, you can do some really interesting things with that. Let's show you something else. Let's go to another one. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use black and white. Okay. So I want to make some adjustments to that. Let's just make that a little bit lighter. Let's change that tone, make that a little bit darker. Let's bring up this tone a little bit. Okay, just pulling in a couple areas, nothing really big. You could have left it alone. Let's go ahead and bring it to darken. Well, look at what's happening here. We get this really nice blue tint. We get this kind of hazy look, which I think is really interesting. Let's go in and not another mask. Let's go do another black and white. Okay, and then let's do like an overlay. No, that didn't work. Which one was I working with before? So I'm going to scroll through and kind of see. Oh, I tinted it. That's what happened. All right, let's bring it back to normal here. We're going to tint over top of this. Oops. We're going to go ahead and tint this. We're going to tint it let's do orange. Okay, so I could take that orange, right? We can blend it down. So really creating some interesting kind of things happening here. And let's say you wanted that, but again, maybe you just want it in the sky. Right? So now that sky just looks really kind of ominous and strange, and we could then take, right? Well, why stop there? Let's go ahead and take hue and saturation, and you could change the hue. We could up that saturation a little bit in places. We could do a colorize sitting on top of that. And let's say we want to do something like that, and let's get our brush about 50%. Let's kind of sweep that in. Let's keep the rest kind of that color. And here we have this image that started off here, which I like the image. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do this image. We kind of heightened it a little bit by doing that. We put another black and white on top of that. And see, without the one underneath it, you can see we're not getting some of those shadows and other things to it. You can really kind of adjust these things. So that's the idea of dealing with hue and saturation and kind of stacking, or black and white and hue and saturation.